Speaks live at 5 p.m. on Thursday. Listen, come on into the room. I see a few stragglers. I'll give a couple of you a minute or two to get in here before I really get into the potatoes of today's discussion, I guess I would call it. Today's discussion. Let me know as I share this on my other timelines, because listen, the gremlins are back at it. And I just need to be sure, number one, that my picture is working fine, and number two, that my volume is working fine, because the last few times I have had issues with my volume by the time I got ready to upload to YouTube, my YouTube subbies. Hey, YouTube subbies, what's up? Welcome, welcome to you guys as well. I want to make sure you guys can hear me. And I heard from you previously that there was some issues with my volume. So I'm hoping that tonight that's not a problem. I've been working on another third-party program, if you will, and I've been bouncing back and forth because you guys know my internet service provider, AT&T, is the devil. And for whatever reason, I think I stream at about like 4 megabits per second. It's something really stupid. And so I have to use my other platform for my uploads that I do for Instagram. So for those of you who are not already following Sergeant Cheryl Dorsey on Instagram, please do slide over and start to follow me there. You will see stories and 15-minute videos, because that's my maximum, since I'm not, I don't have an IAN after my last name, right? I can only put up 15 minutes at a time. Hey, Pamela, greetings, sis. So I do one topic stories on Instagram, and I use this other platform for that so that I can, do something a little different there. In my videos, I actually show a video of police shootings, and then I provide an analysis of the police shooting, much like you see me do when you see me on CNN or the Law and Crime Network. I show you what I'm talking about as opposed to just telling you what I'm talking about, which is what I do here on Facebook and on YouTube. I cannot, because of the slow streaming, incorporate the videos into my live feed. So jumping back and forth seems to have caused some issues with my connection. I'm using different microphones. The camera's the same, but the mics are different, and therein lies the problem when it comes to the volume. So I know there's a bit of a delay. Hey, Marie, I know there's a bit of a delay. So if you could, hey, K Rose, I see you here. Can you just let me know if my volume is good? K Rose, don't send me a thumbs up because I won't know who it's coming from. Comment in the bar here for me and let me know if everything looks good, sounds good. For those of you who obviously would not have any way of knowing, when you hear me refer to K Rose, he is my amazing podcast producer over at Get Global Network. So if you guys are sleeping on Get Global Network, you can find them also on Facebook. Check it out. Now, I want to, before I get too far into tonight, let me just first start off by, I haven't done this in a minute, and so let me start off by letting those of you who are new to me know who I am. I'm a retired 20-year veteran sergeant of the Los Angeles Police Department, having spent all 20 years in patrol, in uniform, and so I use those 20 years of experience to share with you what I think is, common sense solutions, if you will, to police encounters gone bad, whether it involves just a straight use of force, an officer was extra aggressive, or whether it escalates to a situation where we have a deadly use of force and someone has lost their life. I break down those incidents and I tell you, based on my 20 years, thanks K Rose, based on my 20 years of training and experience, not what someone told me, not what I heard, and not what I thought, but I tell you, based on my training and experience, what could have been done differently or better on both sides, because at the end of the day, family, the goal is for you guys to survive that police encounter. And so you will see some of that on my Instagram, where I will soon be uploading a video of a young man. You may have already seen it here on Facebook. Skater Don, I'm going to respond to that video you shared with me about please explain this to me. A young man was stopped by police officers because he was going to meet a girlfriend, grab a snack. So, you know, that piqued my interest because I'm a foodie. He was on his way to get a snack with his girlfriend, and this white woman saw him and said that just his mere presence kind of seemed suspicious. And so she called the police, and we know what happens when, you know, white folks see our black men, our sons, our young brothers, our young uncles, and think that, you know, their presence out in the public is somehow suspicious. We know exactly what can happen because I've shared with you a very disturbing story of Elijah McClain out of Aurora, Colorado, who was thought to be suspicious. And so this young man, Devin Myers, survived that police encounter. And so I'll be breaking that down and talking a little bit about that. But that will be on Instagram. Hey, Pamela, good. I'm happy to hear that my autobiography arrived. So you have to reach out to me either on email, sgtdorseyspeaks@gmail.com, or just hit me up here in IM and let me know what you think. I'm always curious to hear what others think about, you know, what it is that I share with you in my autobiography. And so again, for those of you who are new and don't know, I do have an autobiography. You can see it behind me, black and blue. The Creation of a Social Advocate is volume 2 in the Black and Blue series. My first volume in the Black and Blue series was the creation of a manifesto. And just as an FYI, for those of you who don't know, the creation of a manifesto got started because of Christopher Dorner, black police officer who was fired, had issues with LAPD, felt that they had done him a disservice. He was a whistleblower. He taught a female partner, a white woman, who had put boots, literally kicked a mentally challenged man in the head, allegedly. And Christopher Dorner told, and he was sent to a board of rights because he was allegedly accused of lying on the good white woman. And then he lost his job because if you are accused of lying, that's a felony. That's a fireable offense on the Los Angeles Police Department and just about any other police department worth their salt. Well, he had been fired for about 5 years, and I don't know Christopher Dorner. I don't condone what Christopher Dorner did, but I believe, because I know what LAPD did to me when I left, and I left in good standing, understand that. I was honorably retired, but I had left on the heels of a lawsuit against the city in which I prevailed, and I can't prove it. I just feel like because I prevailed in this lawsuit, that when I was looking for other jobs, police law enforcement related work, all of a sudden I'm not qualified. I was disqualified based on, you know, a psychiatrist's evaluation of me. Now, I will give you, I could be a little batshit crazy at times, but after all, I survived 20 years on the Los Angeles Police Department. And so when I applied to Department of Corrections as a detention officer, a CO, whatever you call them, and they said I was unfit, I felt some kind of way because I'm thinking 20 years in patrol, in uniform, sergeant of police, second largest department in the nation, well thought of for whatever folks might think of LAPD, and I'm not qualified to say open tier 3, close tier 3. That's what LAPD did to me as I was leaving. And so I understood exactly why Christopher Dorner may have felt like I felt and thought that the LAPD may have had something to do with him allegedly being released from the military, is what I understand. I don't know it to be true because I don't know him. And I don't know anybody that knows him. But I heard the stories and the rumors, and that happened on a Friday when the military released him. Well, if the military is your only gig, if that's your only job, if that's the only way you could feed yourself, and you think LAPD had something to do with you getting fired, and I'll tell you why real quick. I feel that way because I had a young officer working for me when I was a vice OIC at Newton Division. And this young officer had gotten involved in some kind of shenanigans when he was a reserve. He had been in the reserve for years. And something about, the boys playing with their mace and playing with their big guns one weekend. And somebody in his unit didn't particularly like him. And they called LAPD and they said, hey, you know what? 5 years ago, this officer, this LAPD officer, was playing with his gun on the base and was pointing it at people and spraying mace on folks, just kind of grab assing like cops can do when they get silly. Well, they told LAPD, and so LAPD initiated this big old, was a big investigation, and they sent this young officer to a board of rights, our administrative hearing. And in this board of rights, they were going to terminate him. And so myself and several others, then my captain, James Tatro, who was the area captain at Newton Division, and Terry Barkley, who was a assistant watch commander at Newton Division, and many others, because they were very pro police. They really supported their officers, they being James Tatro and Terry Barkley for sure. Anybody who knows Terry Barkley knows exactly what I'm talking about. And so we all gathered together. We signed a letter. Those who could testify as a character witness for this young officer did that. And then there was this one person who looks like me who showed up kind of for the LAPD side. I talk about him too in my book, a Captain 3 at the time. I'll just give you some initials, TRM. Some of you are going to know who I'm talking about. He showed up as a character witness against the officer for the department. And when he was asked as a Captain 3, hey, given what you know about what this officer did 5 years ago in the military, could he work for you, Captain 3? And TRM said, absolutely not. The way the story goes, I wasn't there, but word on the street is, and I've had a conversation with TRM about that, and he said, maybe I did. I don't know. Maybe I didn't. Maybe I did. I could have. Because, when you fuck somebody over and you cost them their job, who's got time to really give it much thought and even remember if you had that kind of impact on somebody? And so this young officer lost his job. He lost his job. Hey, Rochelle. And after he lost his job, they brought him back to the police station where he worked for me. He was my ped officer in the vice unit. And, we had to have some folks go home with him. This guy was of Hispanic descent, and he came in looking like Casper the Ghost. We were really concerned about his well-being and not sure whether or not he might not hurt himself when he got home, because he had a wife who was pregnant at the time. He had been investing a lot of time and energy trying to get into motor school. He had purchased a motorcycle to practice with. And again, my LAPD family, you understand what I'm talking about. If you want to go to motor school, I tried to go to motor school. I used to ride a motorcycle. I talk about that in my book too. But I wanted to be the first Black female motor. You already know. You already know how that chapter ended. But anyway, so back to my young officer. He was fired. He was fired. He lost his job because of something he did while he was in the military reserves 5 years prior. Even though all of us rallied, we tried to sign character wit statements saying what an amazing young man he was. He was an asset to the department. He was doing big things, and he should certainly spank him. Give him 4 or 5 days off without pay. Suspend him. But don't fire him. We begged that the department not fire him, and they did. And so I just imagine knowing that and how that played out, that if that is what happened to Christopher Dorner and he lost his military standing, if he lost his ability to feed himself, and he felt like, LAPD, I have lost everything. You have taken everything from me. Because understand this, family, when you work for the LAPD and you piss them off, they're not happy to just fire you. They want to annihilate you. They want to make sure you don't work anywhere else. I had a conversation just a few days ago with a colleague who also sued the Los Angeles Police Department about 5 times. WG, I'll just say that. Some of you, again, know who I'm talking about. And he has honorably retired sergeant on the police department for LAPD for a number of years. And he, too, is now in retirement thinking, you know what, I'm still relatively young and, of sound mind and body, and is kind of looking to do some other stuff and can't find a job. Can't find a job. He did interview here, there, and everywhere. Now all of a sudden people are like, I don't know. I don't know if you're quite qualified. Well, you might be qualified, just not right now. So keep applying, keep coming back, and we'll have this conversation in another 6 months or a year. That's what LAPD does to you, family. That's what LAPD does to you. And so I felt like when Christopher Dorner lost his mind and went on a damn killing spree, not anything I condone, but I understood because it had happened to me. I didn't kill anybody when LAPD kept me from getting a job at Department of Corrections at Riverside County welfare fraud investigator. I applied for. I applied for Anaheim 911 dispatcher, Riverside City, Riverside County 911 dispatcher. Because again, I have a police department background, and I'm thinking, okay, I've been on the other side of the radio. I could certainly be a damn dispatcher. Guess what, family? Not so much when you're me. Not so much. I couldn't get a job as a damn 911 operator. Can I prove LAPD had something to do with it? Of course I can't. I'm just saying. So when Christopher Dorner lost his mind and went on a killing spree, I understood exactly how he must have felt because he didn't have the benefit of having a lifetime pension like I was blessed to have. And so while they were hunting for him, and they were hunting for him, me and others who looked like me who were on the LAPD or had just left the LAPD already knew whenever they find, oh boy, it's a wrap. They're going to kill him. And that's when I decided to write my book, Black and Blue, The Creation of a Manifesto. And I made that title because Christopher Dorner had written a manifesto. Again, don't condone what he did, but I understood how he got there and got pushed to do that. And so I wrote the book, and I wrote it while they were hunting for Christopher Dorner because I knew that they were going to kill him. And so I said, you know what? Duh. I had an aha moment, as Oprah would say, right? I just realized my purpose. I realized that the reason I had gone through everything that I had gone through on the Los Angeles Police Department for the 20 years that I was there was because I had a story to tell, and I could maybe be a blessing to someone else who might be getting the Clydesdale penis from the LAPD like I had, like they tried to give me. And I wanted people to know that there's life after LAPD. I had been retired and I was successful and I was still able to eat meat on a regular basis. You know, that's important to me, family. And so I wanted other police officers who find themselves similarly situated to Christopher Dorner to not go on a damn killing spree. That you will be fine, even though LAPD and other organizations like LAPD try to make you think that, oh, when you leave here, let me tell you, life comes to a just complete halt. You're not going to look the same. You're not going to feel the same. People are not going to want to talk to you. And listen, for some men, I know that you're tied to those titles, captain this and lieutenant that. You're not Michael anymore. You're Lieutenant Michael. And if they're not calling you lieutenant and sir and snapping to when you walk down the halls, well, then your little ego gets hurt. And so that's why I think some guys stay as long as they do. And I think some guys have a hard time when they do go. That's just me. I'm just saying. Again, so as they were hunting for Christopher Dorner, I said, okay, so I'm going to write my story because I went through every single thing that Christopher Dorner talked about in his manifesto. And there's plenty of articles out there about Christopher Dorner. One of the better articles is a 5-part series that was done by the Los Angeles Times, and you can check their archives and read that 5-part series. Pay particular attention to the 5th part, which is where they finally capture him in San Bernardino Mountains in a cabin that had been abandoned for the winter or whatever. And when they finally caught him, check it out and see how it went down. So while they were looking for Christopher Dorner, I started writing my book. And I was just writing everything that I had been through. And I was like a crazy ass. I really was kind of batshit crazy. I was spending almost every waking minute on my laptop computer at home, LAUSD, who accused me of writing my book while I was at the school district because I was working there in the Office of the Inspector General as a senior investigator. But factually Frank Kabibi. I wrote my book in 2013 at home on my own laptop. So I'm writing my book about my own personal experiences and everything that I went through, and I was hot. I was getting mad all over again, thinking about all the stuff that I went through, all the partners who treated me so poorly, the lack of support that I had from some of my supervisors when I was being treated so poorly. I had been victimized every kind of ism, sexism, racism, reverse racism. And so I talked about the people who treated me poorly because you guys know that's what I do. I like to name folks. I want you to take credit for your shit. And so that's what I did in my book. And I was writing, talking about everything that was going on. And then I saw, sister girl on the department who's married to old boy, and Charlie Beck puts her out there because she looks like me, and oh boy that she's married to doesn't. Okay, put her up and had her say that LAPD is amazing. She couldn't understand why Christopher Dorner did what he did, and she's certainly never, ever seen any racism on the police department as she stood there in her full regalia LAPD uniform with her sergeant stripes. And we understand that you don't get to stand in front of a bank of cameras in LAPD regalia with Chief Charlie Beck standing next to you unless he's got his hand up your ass telling you what to say. And so when I'm watching this heifer talk about LAPD, there's no racism, I had to stop in the middle of what I was doing and go back and create a chapter just for her. You'll know it when you see it. I can't tell you the number because it used to be chapter 8, but now it might be like chapter 13. Yeah, House Negroes. That's the chapter that I had to stop and go back to and then insert because I wanted people to know this heifer's full of shit. No racism, say I've not dealt with it. I've never been subjected to it. But to say that racism, it does not exist anywhere, intellectual right, I'm fussing. And I did this for the entire time that they were searching for him, which was about 9 days. Well, by the time they got to the cabin, I was done with my book. I was wrapping up the whole, what happened the day that I left. And some of you may appreciate that as well. My last day as a Los Angeles Police Department supervisor. And then they killed him. And I was like, well, I'll be damned. I thought they would. And so now I've got this book and I'm like, okay, because I've never written one before. What do I do? So I had to figure out, how do I get the damn book published? Who's going to help me? What does that look like? And then I contacted Amazon because they had a self-publishing wing that was going to help me publish my book. But in the midst of me doing all of that and submitting it to an editor to go over my manuscript, I met a young man who was an indie publisher, and he says, I'll publish your book and it should be a movie. And I was like, well, I don't know about a movie, but help me publish this bitch. And so he did. Creation of a manifesto, black and blue. And that's how that came to be. And then how did I know that the very next year, 2014, that in July, Garner was going to be choked to death by the NYPD. And 2 weeks after that, Mike Brown was going to be shot and killed in Ferguson, Missouri. And 2 weeks after that, Ezell Ford was going to be shot and killed by LAPD officers. And all of them were going to be shot and killed because either they didn't comply or because the officers said they scared them. I didn't know any of that was going to happen. And then I had another aha moment because now I realize, again, all of my LAPD experiences were going to be very valuable. And I wanted to speak and help these families know what they needed to say to these police chiefs who officers had just killed their kids for a reason that made no sense to me based on my training and experience. And so, because my God is amazing, I was invited to appear on the Dr. Phil show and talk about a situation where a young woman had been racially profiled. She wasn't killed, but she was certainly roughed up and dealt with in a way that was totally over the top and unnecessary. And then that appearance on Dr. Phil just kind of opened up the floodgates. Seeing somebody who looked like me, who's been on a major metropolitan police department like the LAPD for 20 years, in uniform, in patrol, and was speaking the way that I do, very different from the male whites who had been standing up there, all suited and booted police chiefs talking about, there's more that needs to be said, and police detectives who've never in a long time chased anybody through a house, backyard, jumped a fence about, why it was a reasonable use of force, police apologists. You guys know who I'm talking about. And so, my narrative was very different. And, it just morphed into, who I am today. Didn't plan it, didn't want it. I just felt like I had a point to make. I had a story to tell, and that there was value in my position. And I'm clear and I'm firm on my position, right? And so that's kind of how that all happened. And then because my God is amazing, he put me in front of a marketing manager who helped me develop into who I am today, and thought, okay, it's been 5 years since the creation of a manifesto. You need to revise it and talk about what's been going on since 2013. And that's where the creation of a social advocate came from, because I started talking about all of the things that I had been doing and advocating with regards to social justice for Black and Brown folks. And I came out with my revised version in 2018. So I said all of that to tell you that Volume 1, The Creation of a Manifesto, is not available. But everything that's contained in Volume 1 is also contained in Volume 2, The Creation of a Social Advocate, which is available for you to purchase on Amazon.com or through my website, sgtdorseyspeaks.com, and I'll send you a signed copy. I added about maybe 10 or 12 more chapters to kind of bring you up to speed from 2013 to 2018. And so that's what that book back there is all about. And then, of course, I'm coming out with Volume 3, The Creation of a Whistleblower, based on my experiences over at the Los Angeles Unified School District. So that was kind of the Reader's Digest version of what you have in front of you, Pamela. I just wanted you to know the backstory. And yeah, girl, they did. They torched that cabin. They threw in what they call a flashbang, and they said, well, it's an incendiary device. No, they didn't really say it was an incendiary device. They referred to it as a flashbang, but actually it's a Molotov cocktail. It is an incendiary device, and they absolutely knew that it was going to start a fire. And the fire department stood down. They were there, but they didn't put that fire out. Why? Because they intended to execute Christopher Dorner, and they did. And so that's how that all came to be. So anyway, I just wanted to share that with you. So for anybody else, Derek, that's amazing. If you want to get my book, like I said, you can do it on my website, and I'll sign it and send you a copy. And I'll even send you a little thank you token that I send out to folks who purchase my book directly from me. But that's how that came to be. And so, now I'm here and about to do the same thing with the school district, because I tell you guys all the time, you mess with the bull, you get the horns. I don't know if you can really see my horns, but they're there. They're there. I just had a thing that just came to my mind because I was a latchkey kid and watched a lot of TV, and I'm going to date myself. But for anybody who used to watch My Favorite Martian, if you remember that show, I was like an infant, but I remember it, right? Because I just have things that I remember from my infancy. And I remember watching My Favorite Martian, and when he would get ready to do his thing, he would have little antennas that would come up on the side of his head. So that's kind of how my bull horns are. Yeah, when you F with the bull, you get the horns. And so right now, LAUSD is about to get the horn. And so let me just get right to that. But before I do, I did want to thank a couple of YouTube subbies who are brand new and are following me. I appreciate you, Richard Lloyd, Deep Blue, Danville Clark, and Roger Newday. Thank you so much for subbing. And to some of my new Facebook followers, Jay Bauer, Tim Craig, Brenda Hicks Russell, Eric Daniel, Kevin Brooks, and my future husband. I'm just going to leave it at that. You know who you are, sir. Let me know what our color scheme is going to be. Thank you guys for following me. Tell a friend, and thank you. Now, let me say this before I get to the whole LAUSD thing, because I kind of teased you and told you I want to let you know what happened with that. But I had a little little situation earlier with a colleague, and so colleague, I'm not mad at you, who was concerned that maybe I might be confusing people because I've been sharing a lot of articles regarding Bloomberg. And so listen, I share the articles so that people can read. Those of you who will, I can lead a horse to water, but I can't make you drink. I put stuff up all the time, and then I'll post an article and somebody will say, "What happened?" And I'm like, "Really? Can you read the damn article?" So I just share things for people to take a look and make your own informed decision. I'm not telling you do or don't. We don't even have a nominee yet. So I am, for those of you who do pay attention on a regular basis, I'm a anybody but the asterisk. And so, as much as I may have an opinion and feel a certain way about whoever the nominee may ultimately be, I will hold my nose. I promise you, I will hold my nose and I will vote blue. So, having said all that, please, 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 don't accuse me of being part of the problem. I try my level best to always be part of the solution, even when I talk to you about stuff that is oftentimes troubling, upsetting, and you don't have to agree with me. I'm not looking for your agreement. I'm just telling you what I think based on lived experiences. And then I share with you what other people think via articles and news clippings. And then you ultimately decide. And if I say something that doesn't resonate with you, that's okay too. But do not turn my timeline into a damn debate stage, because that is not going to end well. I'm just saying. Every now and again, I have to do this. And hey, Pamela, congratulations on your husband, girl. That's a joke. It really is a joke. But I'm just saying, because there's somebody on here who constantly refers to himself as my future husband, or refers to me as his future wife. And so I'm just having a good time. I do appreciate this person finding me and paying attention and wanting to know what it is that I think. So I'm just being silly. Um, yeah, nobody really wants me, you guys. I have people ask me all the time, "Why are you single?" Because I'm batshit crazy. I would have to guess. I don't know why I'm single, but I am. So anyway, I digressed. So thank you to those new followers. I appreciate you. And I'm anybody but vote blue, vote 2020. Okay. Now, there's something in the news that I wanted to share with you. There's a young rapper who was recently killed. I think it was today or yesterday, Pop Smoke. And so, there was some belief initially that maybe he had been killed because he put something up on social media, showed his home address. He's renting a house or bought a house from one of the Beverly Hills housewives, husband, somebody connected to the Real Housewives of Beverly Hills. And someone, either today or yesterday, um, I guess it was yesterday, there was a fatal home invasion at this young rapper's home, Pop Smoke, and he was killed. And so they said now that there is surveillance video that shows that several men entered his home, even though they thought maybe it was a robbery gone wrong. It doesn't appear to be now, according to what's in the news, because there were several items of great value that remained after these people came in to kill him. And so I almost even hate to say this, because they're saying that, they, whoever they is, are saying that it could be gang related, or that it was gang related. And so I have a hard time even uttering those words, because we do know that there is a problem right now in the Los Angeles Police Department with them labeling folks as gang members or gang affiliates. Hey, Tonda. And I don't know if this young man was involved in any gang activity. It sounds like, according to this article, that there was some sort of a criminal hearing back in January related to a case regarding a stolen Rolls Royce. And it says, and I'm quoting, "Law enforcement noted his affiliation to the Crips gang," according to Yahoo. Whether his killing correlated with his previous case has yet to be discovered. So I don't know if they're accusing him of having stolen this Rolls Royce, if they're saying the Crips stole a Rolls Royce, or he was in a car with some Crips who stole a Rolls Royce. I don't know. And like I said, I have a problem even uttering those words, because folks will make you a gang member. Folks will make you a gang affiliate. If you ever, you know, exchange bodily fluids with a gang member, you could be a gang affiliate. You could be a gang member by proxy. I'm just saying. If you got family who's a gang member, if you ever had a conversation with a gang member, if you ever walked down the street and a gang member was within arm's distance, you could be an affiliate. I'm just saying. PD has got some splaining to do about folks that they are making gang members. And so I don't know if this young man was a gang member, but I do know tragically he's not here with us. And again, possibly related to a stolen Rolls Royce. Let me just say this about stolen Rolls Royce, because again, I don't know the details of this stolen Rolls Royce, but sometimes these young people will rent cars and don't turn them back in on time. High-end cars being rented by folks who are flossing is a thing. And if you don't turn it in at the end of that 3-day weekend, then they report the car stolen. So is it a stolen in the true sense of word, that somebody did carjacking and they took this person's car, or is it one of those rentals that they didn't return and Enterprise said, I'm not effing with you, and they called the police and reported it stolen? I don't know. But that's what's being reported. Okay, Marie, you said you met me at Roscoe's. Oh, when my book first came out, I had just left a TV station interview, and I gave you one of my business cards. Oh, okay, you still have it. So you would have to get a signed copy. Well, Marie, listen, all you got to do is tell me which Roscoe's you're gonna be at next. I'll meet you with some fried chicken gizzards. I am me. We'll make it happen. Let's see. Okay. Hey, Barbara. Thanks for joining me. I appreciate you. So anyway, so that's what's going on with this young rapper. And then now on to some one other story that I just got to share with you, because I thought this was hilarious. I often talk about there being 18,000 police departments across the nation. And when most people think about police departments, well, you don't think necessarily everybody's as big as LA, New York, Chicago, Detroit, right? But do you ever think that there's a police department with one person on it? I didn't even know that was a damn thing. Again, I'm going to date myself. Mayberry, right? Mayberry, there was like the sheriff and his, Don Knotts, his sidekick, and they were the only two people in the whole town. Well, evidently in New Hampshire, there is a police chief in Croydon. Croydon police chief, his name is Richard Lee. And Mr. Lee is not only the police chief, and he has been in this position for the past 20 years. This Croydon has about 700 folks in town, so ooh, that's a little bitty town, y'all. Everybody all and everybody's Kool-Aid. But Richard Lee, he's also the prosecutor. He's the prosecutor, and he's the police officer, and he's the police chief. Well, at least until a couple of days ago. And so I don't know who he pissed off over there in Croydon. He pissed off what they call their select board, and so they eliminated his position. They did it like they did in Twilight Zone. Little Johnny. If you miss Little Johnny, he'll tell you go to the cornfield, and so they sent that ass to the cornfield. So before that, he was. Well, I picture him being mad, but he says he wasn't mad. They ordered him because he was the only police officer in that town. So they said, on your way out the door, we'll take that uniform, we'll take that gun, and we'll take that badge, and we'll be taking back our car, because that's our car that you drive around town in, sir. Mr. One-Man Police Department. So he stripped down to his kids. And now he stormed out of the office because he didn't have a change of clothes. And he starts stomping home in his underwear. So I imagine somebody must have saw his little naked ass walking down the street, droopy draws, and called his wife and said, "Could you come get Dick? He's what?" His name is Richard, and you know how they like to call folks. You know, if you Richard, you Dick, right? Could you come get Dick? And put him in the car because he gonna catch a cold. He's walk out in his damn underwear, and yeah. So somebody called him. He said he got about 3/4 of a mile away from the station before his wife finally came and picked him up. Now listen, this is 2020. How did he get on the damn telephone? Even though it's a little big town with 700 people, he was making, they say, close to $50,000 a year, which is probably good in that little town. Now $50,000 includes his salary, fuel, and a telephone. So maybe he took a cell phone. He didn't have a personal cell phone. I don't know. I'm just envisioning all sorts of foolishness surrounding them living position. Chose not to call his wife. He could walk across the street probably to a neighbor and said, "Hey, everybody know who he is. And I use your phone," but he started jumping on his damn. And his wife came and she picked him up. That was hilarious. And listen, it also said that this guy who had the job for 20 years, he still worked part time, worked a 32-hour week, and he was he wasn't working something like some backwoods crazy. Ooh wee. Stay out of Croydon, y'all. You look like me. I'm just saying. When he was off work, which is the state troopers help patrol over there, I guess the Hampshire state troopers, and now since he's gone, they don't know what they do about a police department because he was hit. They're relying right now on state troopers to help with whatever police work is going on now. So I thought it was pretty funny. The simplest things make me laugh, and that made me laugh. Okay, I'm looking at your Debbie. You say I'm a little choppy. Am I choppy, Debbie? Okay, well let me sit still and not move around if I'm choppy, because I don't want to do that. I didn't ask. Well, I did ask, but nobody said anything except for it was in the very, very beginning. I'm looking at my connection is fine. I'm not pixelated. My volume good. I'm seeing thumbs up, so that means we're all good. If at any point during this broadcast it gets crazy, because I don't know if it's a coincidence or if it's because of what I'm talking about that all of a sudden I'm having issues with my connection, but I am having issues. Okay, it does sound choppy, huh? Don't know what that's all about. What that's all about. Okay, but I'm gonna press on and I'm gonna move quickly now because that for a minute. Now I talked to you about a unified school district and the whole brouhaha that we had going on early in the week. They drugged me into court. They were trying to get a protective order against me to Pamela. Everything I just said was not coherent. Are you guys kidding me? Okay, it's good now. Okay, text immediately if it goes crazy and you can't understand me because there's a bit of a delay. So when you tell me you can't hear me, it's going to take me just a moment or two to make some adjustments. Okay, Pam, you think it's Facebook doing that? Okay, all right, I'm going to press on. Tuesday, Unified District trying to get a protective order against me because they said if I share with you guys depositions from my case that is ongoing, it could be embarrassing to some folks. They lost. They lost. The judge denied protective order, so you know what that means. Ooh wee! I am unleashed. I am unleashed. Okay, just every other word is chopped. You guys are wearing me out. Facebook is wearing me out. Okay. Protective order was denied. I can share with you whatever it is that I want to share with you. However, the depositions will not be available to the public until I publish my book. There is a QR code in the back of my book, The Commission of Whistleblower, that you can go to and read the deposition of my USC lawsuit. Now, I interviewed my attorney with about 6 or 7 high officials Sheehan, who is now the current superintendent over in Glendale Air School District. Dr. George McKenna, beloved figure on the LA Unified School District. My three bosses, the Inspector General, Kenneth Ramlett, the Deputy Inspector General, Frank B., the bench one in HR, Linda was deposed, as well as full analysts in the Office of the Inspector General, Sarah Zora, also deposed. And so listen, I'm saying, like I said before, they stand their story, and we know what they said during the deposition. The truth was under oath. Nobody wants to get caught with a perjury charge. What they had to admit is that they screwed me, that they fired me without just cause, and so we're going to jury of my peers make a determination about what that is going to look like, that they ultimately had a right. So I'm happy about that. I will be continuing to speak. My voice will be heard. I will not be silenced. So that's that. Now, there was a police officer on last week, Christopher Hess, who was found not guilty in the fatal shooting of 21-year-old Genevive Dawes. Genevive Dawes had purchased a car. She was living there with her boyfriend, and she realized that when she bought this vehicle, it had been reported stolen. She bought a stolen vehicle. She's 21 years old, and that happened. That happened. Someone called because her boyfriend was sleeping in the car. Police responded and fled. It was stolen and went into a funny vehicle stop. Well, they sleep in the car, so when they woke up, she's thinking, I would imagine, because she's here to tell her version of the story, right? And like I said at the time, police officer tells you, and then one version, and then one you tell. I would imagine she was sleeping about 1 o'clock in the morning and wake up and she's like, sure, then I'm sleeping in the car, let me start it up and move. When she started the car and back up ever so slowly, Christopher Hess fired 9 rounds into the vehicle. He hesitated and then he fired 3 more because he believed there was still a threat. All he had was, I believe it. He thought that she was going to run over some of the other officers that were in positions of concealment, as far as I could tell, positions of safety. Yet he thought he was doing them a solid by shooting this girl 9 times, 12 times actually, because the other officers had a gun and they had the opportunity and ability, if they so chose, to protect themselves. Yet he did. He fired 12 rounds. And he stuck to his story and he was found not guilty. And so I mentioned the Christopher Hess story because, it was a situation that happened a few days ago in New York, and I'm happy that those who were affected are, sounds like, on the end back from recovering, but some local had walked into a couple of precincts and started shooting police officers in the New York Police Department, injured a couple. And so now you have Mouth, Pat Lynch, saying that, words matter, and, it's activists and folks involved in social justice who are responsible because we are encouraging anti-sentiment. And so, listen, we have an absolute right to talk about stories like Genevieve Dawes or Genevieve or Elijah McClain, who was killed walking home from a convenience store, or anybody else in the last 5 years because of overzealous, drunk with power police officers who think all they have to do is say, I was in fear for my safety, and they get to kill us. And the fact that we don't like it, Black and brown people don't particularly like it, doesn't mean that we are encouraging, wanting, responsible for a fool, a career criminal who walks into a precinct and opens fire. Not fault. And we should all know the ones taking responsibility. We need to continue to speak loudly with regard to these shootings, because what I do know is that in 2010, things have not gotten any better. What I do know is that because it's reported of the population in 2019, we were 31% of the police shootings. And of those shootings in 2019, broke down like 205 were year, 149 were Hispanic, and 312 were non-Hispanic whites. So the problem, and the Washington Post has been track since 2014 when Michael Brown was shot and killed, and what the Washington Post is reporting again, 21% of the blacks who were shot and killed by police since 2014 were unarmed. So how are these people really for their safety when they have guns and all? Blacks are more likely 3 times to be shot by cops than whites. And listen, if we really need a blue panel ribbon, a damn survey to tell us that, we know it, we see it, it's happening in front of our eyes. And so that's the situation. That's the situation. 1,004 total shootings in 2019. 1,004 total shootings in 2019. A number that was up from 2018, where there were 992 shootings. So things are not getting better. Things are getting worse. Things are getting, and so I say because I have, for those of you who may have seen it, if you're a Spectrum Cable subscriber and you saw me on Inside the Issue with Alex Cohen on the other day with Alex Cohen, I haven't had an opportunity to get a link to the discussion that I had with her. It was a really good discussion. It was myself and 3 other guests who were talking about police and community. And, there was some feel-good discussion before I came on with the truth that I do. But I say what I say because things are not getting better. And sometimes it's unsettling. Sometimes it really hurts my heart for a police sergeant. Trust me when I tell you, know to be true. I'm a black woman first. Second. And then I just happen to be somebody who spent time on a law enforcement agency. And I'm continually bothered. You have police apologists like Pat Lynch, Commissioner over there at NYPD, who had a whole lot to say about this shooting, but didn't offer any evidence to support it. He said, that this was because of this anti-police sentiment, he and Pat Lynch. However, it's reported in the news article that I'm quoting from that Commissioner Shea didn't offer any evidence in the attacks, even knew of protests that they had previously there in New York, and that he was influenced by those protests, demonstrators who were protesting against excessive force. Guess it was a big giant protest in Grand Central Terminal in New York. And so they're trying to say that somehow the two were related, and there's no evidence of that. That's what they say. That's what they do. And so, as vigilant, as diligent, as persistent as they are, we're going to try to minimize, mitigate bad behavior, to try to explain away deadly uses of force should never, ever, ever happen. Encounters and intention should never, ever happen because somebody might see somebody walking down the street and think that's suspicious all by itself. It just makes no sense. And so that's what they need for you to be smarter, to use their system against them. And while I say complain, what I'm really saying is I want you to survive. I want you to go ahead and be a good attorney and have them crack open a checkbook for you. Do not allow them, give them a reason to say that you did something, you did comply, you made a furtive movement, a quick movement, something that justified the version of why they had to shoot you 12 times. Because you won't be here. Your family will be able to really argue in your state because you can't speak to what you're trying to or how you were fearful or how you were trying to get to a safe place. It wasn't that you weren't trying to comply, you were trying to get to a well area or you had a reasonable question that you thought the officer would ask. You never thought, or when you said, why did you stop me? It was trying to be shot with a tranquilizer. I want you to survive, family. So that's it for now. I hope and pray that the remainder of this transmission has been relatively easy for you to hear and understand. I do think that there are gremlins that are trying to, stop me from being heard one way or another. But we're going to press on. And I hope that when my transmissions do become garbled, that you will stick with me and you will stay around until the connection gets better. Or come back and look at it when you have more time to really sit and listen. If volume is ever an issue for some of my YouTube stuff, you guys tell me you can't hear me. Just maybe if you have an earbud for your phone, something that you put into your computer or into your phone as you listen to the transmission, you listen to that way so that you're able to hear what that I'm saying. That's for now, family. For those of you who want more about me, my site, www.sgtdorseyspeaks.com. Follow me on Instagram, sgtdorseyspeaks. Subscribe to my Sergeant Dorsey Speaks. Follow, like, share on YouTube. Sergeant Dorsey Speaks. Thank you, family. See you next time. Be good. Pam, listen, Pam, when I see you, I just push down. You said that all of a sudden I'm as clear as I'm coming to an end. That's something. Is that something? As soon as I start with my sign off, listen to me, brother. Are you listening? You know that I'm about to sign off and now everything can be good, safe.